Hi again, crafty friends. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody is doing well. This is Missy with A Time to Craft. Crafting for a cause. Let's get our signatures, get our papers all trimmed down so that we can get our signatures going here. So, depending on how you're going to make your journal, your cover, if it's going to be a cover from an actual book, always make sure to measure the length and width of your cover and trim your pages down accordingly to that. Now, what I do when I use a hardcover book, I will pull the front cover page out and I will measure this, and I will use this as my template to trim my pages back. But if you're going to make your own cover, which is what I'm going to do again, I am trying to be more resourceful and use up stuff that I have that would normally go into the trash cereal boxes. So when you make it with that, then you can do your pages however you want, and then you can customize your cover to the size of the pages that you're making. So with that being said, I am going to leave my pages basically the same size they are once I fold them in half. They will not be any bigger than this. Now, I might trim some up differently just to make them different sizes and kind of, you know, change up the feel of the journal a little bit. But other than that, I don't trim them way down. I just kind of leave them as they are. So I'm going to pull one out and I'm going to measure it. Get my little cutter here. So we are looking at 5, I can't see. Y'all, math is not my thing, so bear with me. Just under 5.5 inches by 8.5. All right, so where'd I get this one from? Anybody remember? So we're going to start with this because obviously this is much, much bigger. And I will cut off the excess from the bottom where this is, so it's not in our journal. Even if it is, you can put a pocket over it or something, but anywho. And we'll save this to make pockets with inside the journal as well. Save all of these little strips. Those make really good junk journal cards. Okay, so I'm going to kind of take all my stuff out. I hope you can see this. Now, this mulberry paper is obviously bigger. You cannot put this in this trimmer. Oh no, it will shred it up, I guarantee you. Ask me how I know. So I'm going to put it in this one. There. And this is all I'm going to do. I'm just going to go through, trim them up, put them back in here, and just lay them all out. Let me move this up here so it's out of the way. This one here is obviously already smaller, so no need to trim there. This one is, I'm going to leave this one alone, but what I am going to do is take this one over and run it through the sewing machine. I will be doing quite a bit of sewing in this one, I believe. So I'm gonna just sew around the edges of this one. So, if you will just give me a minute, I'm going to run on over there and get it done, and I will be right back. Alrighty, so I changed my mind. I was going to go all the way around, but since I did this stitch, I just done the two sides, and I will trim some of these little danglies off. But not all, because I kind of like the threads hanging just a little bit. I'm trying to tighten it up. Well, good gravy. Okay, so there's that one. And this one, I'm going to trim it just a little bit. And then I'm going to round the corners, I think. I'm not sure yet. Trying to decide, do I want to trim it or do I want to bring this in and make a little side tuck out of it? And I think that might be what I do with this one. So I'm going to just fold that in just a little bit. Excuse me. And then it'll be a little side tuck there. Do something a little bit different on this one. So let's go ahead and glue that down. Before I glue it down, excuse me, I know I'm reaching right in front of the mirror. I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of inking. Ooh, that's definitely green. That is called Mowed Lawn. Okay, maybe a little bit. I just like to just stress it so it stands out a little bit. And you can tell that there's something there. All right. So we're just going to glue these two little edges down right here. Easy enough. I got to move my stuff over to the other side. I keep reaching in front of that camera, and that is just rude. Now, I think what I'm going to do on this side is I'm going to round the corners maybe. I'm thinking ahead a little bit. I don't know if I want to round these corners or if I want to put some kind of trim here. You know what? I'm going to wait because I can always round these corners once they're put into the signature regardless. Okay. So in the meantime, I'm going to leave it as is. Now, this is our bag. And I can leave it this length, or I can trim it down a little bit. And I think I want to trim this one down just a little bit. And then I'm going to trim the bottom off. So we have an opening on both sides. And this right here, I mean, you make this whatever size you want it to be. Does not have to be any specific size is what I'm getting at. Hold it together though when you cut it because it'll come apart. All right, so. Now what we have is two pieces because it is no longer intact on any given side. So I'm going to go to the sewing machine and I'm just going to stitch on the two long sides, not the two openings, because we want this to be a pocket of some sort. Okay, I shall be right back once I get this sewed. So you just hang on 1 second for me. Alrighty, got that done. So as you can see, I stitched on either side. And now we have an opening, and we have an opening on this end. So let's put that in our signature. And then we have the two doilies, and I just glued these two doilies together. And it is green because I laid it on top of this piece of paper and spritzed it with green food coloring mixed with water. So waste not, want not, correct? So we're going to use that inside. Now, remember, the farther you get into the middle of your signature, the more these pages are going to stick out. So make sure you trim these down. Unless you don't mind them sticking out. That's, that's, again, preference there. So I think on this one here, I'm going to trim it just a tiny bit. And then I'm going to round these corners off. There we go. So we've got something a little bit different. And now I am going to just kind of ink the edges of this page. And just do something a little bit different. Make everything stand out on its own as unique, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. I don't know. And, you don't even have to do this really. And if you can see, I don't know if you can see this on camera, this page has a little bit of a tear right here. So I will make sure once this gets in the signature and I start doing pockets and things, I will definitely make sure to put a pocket on that just to reinforce that little spot. And I say that to say this, just because your paper has a little tear in it, don't throw it away. You can still use it. You can go and reinforce it, put a pocket over top of it, because then you're just gluing another piece of paper on top of it. You can do a ribbon, a lace trim. You can sit down and sew over it and just make it just another feature. Oh, where'd it go? There it is. It's right there. So I'll leave it, make sure it stays on the bottom. Not that it matters. I mean, I can do a top tuck. But anyways, so I'll make sure I put something right here to put glue on that to reinforce that little spot. So just because your paper is not 100%, don't throw it away. Still use it. That's why we call them junk journals. All right, so let's get this one trimmed down, because now these are the last two that are going to be in the center. And I don't think I'm going to do anything to this one. I'm just going to leave it alone. Alrighty, so there is signature one. And as you can see, how some of them stick out past this right here. But it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. I don't even know how I got started doing these at the beginning of each signature. But I did it. There they are. And it's just something I continue to do. I'm not sure why. It's kind of like a little jacket for each signature, I guess. I don't know. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the same for the next. But this is what all you're going to do for each one of your pages in your signatures. you're just going to trim them down accordingly. And get everything trimmed up, sewn up, stitched up, colored up, however you want to do it. Get everything done. And just put in all of the extra little things that you want to stick in there. Like the envelopes that we use to make pockets. Go ahead and get those trimmed up and glued shut on the flaps. I don't know. I want to make these, you know, like kind of different sizes and just make them a little bit more interactive. Oops, I'm sorry, I'm shaking y'all around. Please forgive me. Okay, I think I'm going to jump on here and let's see, what do I got? I'm going to leave those two alone. I'm going to go ahead and sew on this one. Do some stitching on this one. All right, so let me go do some stitching and I will be right back. Alrighty, so this is resume paper. So I went ahead and done some stitching all the way around it, and I will leave these little fuzzies hanging, the extra strings. It just gives it character. And I figure whoever buys this, if they don't like it, they can just trim it off, right? Absolutely. Okay, so here's the envelope. So if you're going to put envelopes in to make pockets out of, make sure you glue your flap down and go ahead and trim it. Now, do you want side, excuse me, a side pocket? Trim your edges here. If you want to be a top pocket, trim it right here. I think I'm going to do this one a top pocket, and then I'll put scrapbooking paper on here and make little side pockets on that. So I am just going to go ahead and do a little, whoops, I'm shaking y'all around so bad. Go ahead and trim this right here. So now when we get ready, these are going to be top pockets. And you can even, before you sew your signatures in, you can go ahead and decorate these. And we may do that. I don't know. Right now, I'm just getting all my papers trimmed. So, that's where we stand with this one. That's going to, not going to go, I don't know. I put it there just for right now because that's just the way I've had it all put in here when I was counting my papers and sticking them in. Once I get everything trimmed and I look at it, I might rearrange a little bit. Okay, so let's get our parchment paper trimmed up. Let me do it this way. I believe I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. I might stick that. Let me get another piece of parchment paper. Hold on one second. Okay, got another piece of paper. Did y'all see what I did? I was cutting it at a little over 5, which is the width of, instead of cutting it the length. So there's that. So let me get my bigger trimmer out and let's do this the right way this time. I will use those other pieces of parchment paper in this journal. They will not go to waste. No, no, no. There. Now that I'm back on track. Let's trim this the correct way. Sometimes I do stuff and I just scratch my head and think to myself, what is even going through your brain? Okay, there we go. Much betterer. And then we have this. I'm just going to trim this down a little bit. And then we have our inside, which is a Digi kit, which I have already trimmed. So that is that one. There we go. Another signature done. I'm going to go ahead off camera and finish up the other two. I mean, basically, you've got this. You know what we're doing. So when you're getting your papers trimmed down and ready to bind or start decorating, you know, like I said, make sure if you want to do any stitching, do your stitching. This is the time if you want to put a pocket in, like a vellum pocket or fabric, and if you want to actually sew it in, now's the time to sew it on your page before we bind this into the spine. So go through and get your papers trimmed, inked up, stitched on if that's what you want to do. If you want to round your corners, and I said before, you can do that once they're in the book, but you know, while you've got it where you can move them freely, now's the time to make any alterations that you want to make to your pages, because once they're sewn into your spine, it can get pretty darn tricky. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get off camera, and I'm going to trim up the other two signatures, and I'll be right back, and we'll just kind of see what we got, okay? All righty, be back in a minute. All right, so I got everything all trimmed up and fixed up the way I wanted, I think. Now, the only thing I will do is I will flip through these and decide how I want the placement of each page to be. But that's, you know, that's not anything I need to show you. You figure that out how you prefer it to be. So I did want to jump on here real quick before I end the video and show you the parchment paper that I cut wrong. I trimmed it up a little bit, and I'm still going to use it. So I stuck this little piece here in this journal, and signature, and then the other piece I folded the two sides in, stitched around it, just a basic stitch, and created these two side tucks. So nothing wasted there. All right, everybody, that is our signatures all trimmed up. So now on to the fun stuff. I will go through and tie off some of these extra strings and decide which ones I want to keep on there and trim them up a little bit, whatever. But that is it. Our signatures are trimmed up and ready to start decorating and getting some pockets and all of the fun stuff in here. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. If you would be so kind as to like this video, subscribe to my channel, share it would be wonderful, because, you know, like I said before, I'm not real good at this stuff, but I'm learning, and I would like for other people to learn right alongside with me. All right, everybody, you have a very, very blessed day. Stay crafty, people, and I will see you soon. We're going to start putting some pockets and some fun stuff in here. All right, everybody, bye now.